Akinelli, given Live from the Barbecue, given Put It in Her Mouth, being that Interscope is a huge label. He's got Large Professor doing a lot of the production on Vagina Dyna. He's got a lot happening and a lot of success early, but then the album didn't take off the way people probably thought it would, or at least I did, or whatever. But that being said, as that's happening, as you're seeing it, and you saw like the change or how quickly someone could go from having one of the biggest singles on the radio and clubs and all that, how or what did you take from that to really, your music is very different from Vagina Dyna. So there's a lot of stuff.
I think the best answer I could give that question is DJing for Akinelli and learning about the record industry and the music business as a whole helped me appreciate the idea of reinventing yourself, that you don't want to be the same artist obviously you are who you are, right? But you always want to try to figure out ways to invent your art and how you present it to people to stay on people's radar and to not go stale. You know what I mean? I think that's the main thing that I learned from my experience working on Vagina Dyna and watching Ak's career unfold, reinventing yourself, man. Every few years, come at this from a different angle. It also keeps it fun for you when you do that,
Okay. So then with Fat Beats in particular, with Sly Rhymes, Nickel and Dime, helping, or not helping, but launching Fat Beats Records and getting it out there. It's one thing to have the idea. It's another thing to actually make the music, going from routines or going from just DJing. What was that transition like to actually creating something that was going to be getting put out commercially?
It was fun. It was a fun transition, but also natural. As a DJ, this is a cliche thing to say, but production is just the next step, right? You're playing with sounds now with a sampler opposed to a turntable. So it was fun, man. And it was just the natural evolution of my career. And I'm glad I got into production because I went on to have a recording career. I have so many solo albums under my belt and group albums with the X-Ecutioners and remixes for established artists, underground artists. I have video game credits. I've produced music for movies, commercials. I'm so glad I made that transition. And that's something I feel like DJs today don't consider. Like most people that DJ don't see past a career DJing. And that's odd to me because, as I said, producing is the natural step. But you have people that experience success DJing and then they settle there. So they land a residency, they're making some money, or they land a spot on the radio and they're making some money, and then they settle there. But I'm glad that I had the mentality that I did with regards to reinventing myself, figuring out creative ways, new ways of making music, whether it was on the turntables or using a sampler like the SP1200. At the end of the day, it's still creativity, and you're tapping into that God force that I've been referencing, right, in this interview. So that's my advice to a lot of DJs too, man, is like, think past winning the competition. Think past landing the residency or the radio spot. There's so much more to this music thing than DJing. DJing is great though. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still connected to the art form, but experiment with other forms of making music, and also collaborate with other people. Don't just be this person, this creative person on an island and you just DJ yourself. Like, DJ with other DJs, DJ for a rapper, DJ in a band, work with producers, musicians, like expose yourself to everything that encompasses music. And that helps you grow and latch on to other opportunities that won't present themselves if you just do this one thing. If you put all your DJ eggs in one basket, or not DJ eggs, creative eggs, all your ideas into this one DJ basket. You know what I mean? Like, spread them out and see what happens, you know?
Well, your career is definitely a testament to that. And congratulations again on that. Now, after doing the single, as you go into Soulful Fruit, I was intrigued because a song like Relax Mode, you have like Superman Lover, you use that sample. And that sample at the time, of course, people had rapped over it, sped it up, slowed it down, done whatever they had done multiple times. Redman did a whole series of songs, what have you. But for you, how and why, when you would pick a familiar sound or sample, how did you decide how to do it in your own way, and not be intimidated by, oh, people know this from A, B, or C?
I think with regards to being creative with music, you use the example of Soulful Fruit, taking all these songs and meshing them together in a way that became this like classic album that honestly I wasn't necessarily intending to put together this classic piece of work. I just was having fun with the music and wanted to put out a mixtape that I knew and felt people were going to enjoy. Within that answer lies the answer to your question. And what I'm trying to say is that everything that I did on Soulful Fruit, for example, came from a very honest place. And I just was wanting to do right by DJ culture. I was wanting to do right by fans of mixtapes. At the time, mixtapes were super popular. DJs would put together these like 60-minute tapes and then dub like 20 copies for like Fat Beats record store, and then dub another 20 copies for Rock and Soul record store. And, your tape would be like almost like an album. You know what I'm saying? And you had DJs that like were doing some dope ass mixtapes. And so I was like, this is going to be my first official mixtape. I want to do something that is right and does hip hop justice. I'm not just trying to put anything out there to just make some quick money. I want to put something out there that's quality, and respectful of DJ art, of the mixtape scene. And so I was at home just like, dude, this tape has to be special. I wanted to just be dope. And I took my time with it. It took me about like maybe 3 to 4 weeks to compose. And I put it together. And I remember I would dump it off at Joe's, at Fat Beats, and all the other record stores throughout the city. And it became this like underground classic mixtape. And then Peanut Butter Wolf from the West Coast, who owns Stone's Throw Records, approached me about releasing the tape on vinyl. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a dope idea. So I gave him the master and he pressed it up on vinyl. And then that's when Soulful Fruit became this like worldwide project, this mixtape that wasn't just being heard in New York City, but dudes in Japan were listening to it because now it's on vinyl and you could just play it on your record player, So although people consider that to be like my first album, it was a mixtape that was manufactured onto wax. And my first official album was actually The Ableist on Asphodel Records, like a couple of years after that mixtape dropped.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful project, which is why people still talk about it today. And
Word.
with with Who Sampled This, I was intrigued as to why you had the halftime radio show on there where you played the Large Professor song, because
Yeah.
so many that, no pun intended, but it sticks out like a sore thumb on there. And it,
Mhm.
so what made you want to include that on Who Sampled This?
I liked sharing those snippets of me on the radio with fans of my mixtapes, because the radio helped develop me. If it wasn't for radio shows like Johnny Juice's show on college radio, Spectrum City, who's now known as Public Enemy, but they used to be Spectrum City, and they had a radio show on college radio, Adelphi University, Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out on 98.7 Kiss, Marley Marl, and Mr. Magic on WBLS. Like, these shows played an integral part in how I DJ, why I love DJing so much. And so for me, sharing my appearances on radio, it was almost like wanting to use that as a way to touch some younger DJ that was listening, and letting them know the importance and the power of radio, that it's not just about me making this mixtape at home. It's about exposing yourself on as many different platforms as possible so that you could share your creativity with the maximum amount of people. And it's funny that we are talking about radio, because I feel that that is missing now. Technology makes it so that you don't necessarily have to turn the radio on to listen to music. You could log on to YouTube, listen to music on TikTok and all that. But underground radio is responsible for the billion-dollar industry that DJing and hip hop in general became. I mean, all I got to reference is Stretch Armstrong's and Babito Garcia's Tech 989 radio show that came on Thursdays, Columbia University, 12 a.m. to like 4 a.m. Kids like myself, 19, 20 years old, staying up to 4 a.m., dubbing everything that they were playing onto our radios, and then waking up the next morning and sharing that cassette tape with our friend or our girlfriend. Yo, listen to this new song from Cypress Hill, or, oh, this DJ was on Stretch's show last night. Check him out. He was killing it. Or, yo, Old Dirty Bastard was freestyling. Like, radio, man, like, I miss that. So I feel like in my mixtapes, I wanted to try to capture that vibe, that radio vibe. And that's why a lot of times I would put snippets of like us or myself on the radio cutting it up. That to me is a hole in hip hop right now. The power and strength of radio. Now you're listening to your music on social media, and I'm not saying that that's bad, but not having an official show that would introduce you to songs anymore, I feel has a lot to do with why the music is where it's at, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
Yes. And that brings me to a thing of For the Heads That Break, a recent project, in the sense that, like Who Sampled This and a lot of your other stuff, some of the songs are pretty short, but For the Heads That Break, they're all short. And I was wondering, is that a response to social media and things being short, or is that just a coincidence, or was that a strategic thing?
I think that's probably more coincidental. Shawnee C and I put together that project because there aren't really many instrumental albums anymore. And like when I was coming up, a lot of the music that I listened to didn't even have rapping on it. It was just a DJ cutting it up, getting busy over a beat. And so we want to try to bring that aspect back to hip hop music. Because now you think of a hip hop song and you think, lyrics over a beat, and then there's a chorus. And rarely do you even hear scratches. And so Shawnee C and I wanted to just do a project that highlighted and isolated scratching and dope beats, you know, for a change, you know, and try to kind of offset the fact that it's not as balanced anymore. It's all rapping over a beat now. Rarely do you hear scratching over a beat on its own. Which
we both agree is unfortunate. Well, there it is. Well,
yeah,
Rob Swift, it's been an honor and a pleasure speaking with you. Before you go, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yo, for anyone out there interested in learning how to DJ, again, I have a DJ school called Brolic Army, and it's an online hub for students and aspiring DJs across the world to link up and train under me, you know, the same way I trained under Dr. Butcher. And I'm thankful to all the students that have signed up and are members today. You guys have helped me grow the school and raise more awareness around the school. And, you know, my point with the school, obviously I love DJing and I want to share my passion for it with people, but I'm also concerned for DJing because DJing now is something that celebrities do to stay relevant and to go viral. And a lot of people do it for the wrong reasons. And because I'm so protective of this art form, I wanted to have my own established thing, you know, that like I can every day of my life devote myself to, you know, and share with people and offset some of the goofiness, I'll say, that you see now with DJing. You know, people pre-recording sets or hiring people to pre-produce sets and then hand syncing what their audience is hearing, you know, shit like that, I feel is disrespectful towards DJing. And Brolic Army DJ School is my attempt to combat that. And so those would be my last words, man. Like if you're a DJ out there and maybe you live somewhere where you can't really connect with other DJs the way I did with Dr. Butcher, I feel Brolic Army DJ School helps facilitate that sort of mentorship and brotherhood and camaraderie that I feel is missing today in the DJ world, because we're all now just on our phones and isolated in our bedrooms. COVID, you can't practice with other people and all that stuff. And so everyone's kind of in their own lane, in their own world, DJing. But, you know, the earlier stuff that you and I talked about, you know, linking up with Juju and Les and going to Dr. Butcher's house and my brother and all that, man, that is what hip hop is. And with regards to DJing, that is what the essence of this art form is it's a communal thing that you do with other people. And I feel like Brolic Army DJ School is a reflection of that. So sign up, man, or at least visit the site and check it out.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.